Are you ready to break through the mental barriers holding you back? Welcome to the Mind Mastered Secrets of Excellence with Don Grant. Since 2001, Don has been guiding elite athletes like PGA Tour champions, Olympians, and world champions, and everyday individuals toward peak performance. With a proven track record, including helping Vijay Singh win the 2008 FedEx Cup, and her PGA Tour clients averaging a 219% increase in earnings. Dawn knows what it takes to succeed. She's the inventor of the Mind Mastered app, author of 7 Strokes in 7 Days, a sought-after speaker worldwide, and the proud owner of Amelia Shotgun Sports in Northeast Florida. Join us as we dive into powerful strategies, inspiring interviews, and Dawn's unique insights to help you excel in every area of your life, sports, career, relationships, and beyond. And now, here's your host, Don Grant.
I am really excited to have Marisol Triana with us, an amazing part of our community. I've been really happy to know her, even as an acquaintance I'm going to find out today how long Hola has been open, because I am one of the loyal fans and been going since it was behind Uncle Charlie's there. So, Marisol, thanks for joining.
For having me.
I'm looking forward to learning more about you and all the adventures that you're on. And I see you and your hubby as an intricate part of Fernandina.
We appreciate it. We've really tried to make it home. You know, a lot of folks move here, and one of the first things they say is, we need this, we need that. And they want to kind of bring some of, I don't know, the stuff that they were used to where they're coming from. And I think when we came here, we made a conscious choice that we were leaving some of those things behind. You know, we're from Miami, and Miami, you can, there's places to eat 24 hours a day, things to do, all that kind of stuff. And we knew we were trading that off for a different quality of life. And that was just part of the deal, and part of the deal we wanted, because it was a better quality of life.
Yeah. How long were you both in Miami?
Born and raised. So I'm in my late 40s now, and we've been here about 13 years. So
that is a big adjustment. What brought you guys to Fernandina?
Chris used to live here. So he used to actually work at the 1878 Steakhouse, and he worked for a photography company that did some pictures out of the Ritz, and he fell in love with the area, and he kept trying to make it work here. And finally, he moved down to Miami, and he was working as a barback at a bar called Bugambilias, and I was a daytime barfly. And we got to know each other, and he kept talking about a place called Fernandina, and I would make fun of him and tell him that he had to have been exaggerating, because there was no way that there was a place that was just so perfect.
Oh.
And yeah, he kept talking about opening up a coffee shop or like a sandwich shop, a Cuban place. And I literally told him to, pardon my French, but I said, shit or get off the pot. Like, we keep talking about it. Yeah, we got to start doing it, or I never want to hear it mentioned again. And that's when we started putting together a business plan, which is basically what separates the men from the boys, in my opinion. Everybody's got a great idea, but hardly anyone puts pen to paper. And that's when things start to get real.
I agree. So you guys were already together? Were you married at that point when you said,
no, we're not married?
Figure it out. What?
No.
Holy, never knew that.
Chris and I are not married. My parents are thrilled that we live in sin. No, I'm just kidding. They love Chris. They love him a lot. We never really got around to it. We talk about it. I just get really overwhelmed with all the planning and everything. And then I think to myself, because a lot of folks are like, just elope. But then I feel that there's about 1 million Cubans back at home who would really be hurt by the fact that we just did it on our own.
Yeah, I got you. That does make it tricky. It's almost like you have to sit down for a year and do a business plan for your wedding.
You think I haven't started one? Jeez, that's a long list. There's a lot of Cubans.
Yeah. You know, where I grew up for part of my childhood was up in New England, and there are the big Catholic weddings. I
Right.
don't think they're as big as Cuban weddings, though, but they
Well,
were
they're
big.
both. A lot of the Cuban weddings are Catholic weddings, so that's a double whammy for you.
Wow. Well, there you go. Holy. Well, so that makes sense. So you guys were together the same way you're together now,
Yeah.
and you were like, figure it out or stop talking about it.
Yep.
What was he saying about Fernandina that was like, wow, that place sounds perfect? Does it really exist?
So he would talk about, so he and I, when we first got together, we would do a lot of drives out to the Everglades, which would take us a good, probably about 45 minutes to an hour. And if you hit traffic, you might as well turn around because you're not going to make it to go see the sunset. And the fact that we have so much access to nature around here, right? Because the island has a big portion of it, which are state parks. And we get to enjoy that. I live right behind Fort Clinch. And so if we do decide to do things like that in the evenings of going to catch a sunset or the sunrise or just going to go see some wildlife, it's so accessible. Like um we're so spoiled when it comes to that. I think we take that for granted quite a bit. And so he would talk about that. He always spoke about the people, that it was a small town. We lived in the city of South Miami before we moved. And that was also kind of a small city that you had access to everything. You could walk everywhere and all that. But I mean, the amenities were there, but not necessarily the community. And that was
Right.
the difference here. The difference here is everybody knows your business, but everybody knows your business.
It's a
So,
pro and a con, isn't it?
oh my goodness. Holy smokes. It's the Kevin Bacon of islands. Everybody's got, what is it, 7 degrees, 8 degrees of separation?
Yeah.
We are the Kevin Bacon of islands. Everybody's crossed paths at one time or another, which goes to show, honestly, it's taught me good lessons because I'm very, in Miami, you are likely never to see someone again. So you can show your ass or, really cut that person out and that's that. But there's so much that we need to interact with each other and forgive each other, right? So sometimes we don't show our best sides to each other, and we have to learn how to get past it because these people are in your lives.
You're going to see him at Publix.
Absolutely. When my mom first visited, she said somebody told her to have a nice day on Center Street, and she said, "Don't tell me what kind of day to have." And I had to pull her aside, and I'm like, "Listen, I thought that was funny. Don't get me wrong. It was quick-witted, but I'm gonna see that lady again. I guarantee it. I
Yeah.
guarantee it." And I mean, yeah, you have to be nice.
It's a thing. I remember when I was first married, so my first husband was from this area, and I brought him to Maine, and we were walking through trails to go to the coast and see lighthouses. And he had that like Southern hospitality thing going on, but also just having lived like his whole life in Fernandina. So he was like, hi, 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 and New Englanders, they're like head down.
Right.
They're not looking at you when you're walking by. He's like, what is wrong with all these people? I'm like, they don't talk. Like, they don't
No.
want you to look at them. Don't look at them. He was so used to being friendly.
Right. And when my nieces come to visit, even if we don't know folks, we still say hi walking down Center and everything, right? You're making eye contact, and they'll always ask, "Do you know them? Oh, do you know them?" It's constant. I was like, "No, but doesn't mean I don't say hi. Like I
Yeah,
acknowledge another human being, and that's kind of the charm that there is here."
there is. I love sitting downtown
Yeah.
and just watching people or getting there early enough. Now, you get to enjoy this a lot, but going there early enough when there's just hardly any cars and the birds are out and they're eating whatever's on the ground, it's so peaceful and so beautiful.
We often say that you can tell when tourist season has slowed down because you could hear the birds again. And
Yeah.
it happens mostly right after Shrimp Fest, right? Because we go from feast to famine real quick for that week. It's the island's loaded up for the weekend, and then that week as you're walking back to work, it's kind of a ghost town, and you can hear the birds again. And
And the
especially in
remnants of
downtown.
humans.
Right.
Yeah. I know you've seen a lot in the years. So what year did you guys move up here?
That's always a point of contention. I want to say I'm doing math now. So we're in 2024. I want to say 2012, maybe the end of 2011. I have no concept of time or distance, right?
Oh,
Like never ask
tricky.
me, how far is that? I'm like, I have no idea. It's like over there. but time and distance get away from me pretty quickly. So I want to say 2011, maybe 2012.
Was it your first location right there behind Uncle Charlie's?
Yeah, so originally we had been talking to the Chamber of Commerce, who were great to help us get open. And we had seen online, I think it's where it is where the beauty bar is now. That location was, I want to say it was called Fernandina, and they were getting ready to sell, and the property was going to be available. By the time we made the drive up from Miami, by that afternoon to check out the location, it was gone. I remember calling the house to my mother, and I was crying. And I said, it's gone. And she said,
Oh.
that's not your spot. It's not your spot. Keep going. And so at that point, we had made the drive for what we thought was for nothing. So we ended up making a night out of it, right? We're like, screw it. We're going to have a good time, enjoy the island. And we went to the Dog Star. And as we stumbled ourselves out of the Dog Star, at the end of the night, everything closes at 2 a.m. We sat on the stoop waiting for a ride home, and somebody mentioned, I wish that what was it before that? I want to say, because it was a hot dog place before, but they also had Philly Boys was out of there too. But they said, we wish
Yeah.
that the restaurant across the way was open, and we both kind of like perked up and said, what restaurant? They said, that door right there, that door is it's a build out for a very small build out, but it's a build out for a restaurant. And we looked at each other and said, I guess we're staying another night, like we got to go talk to these folks.
Ooh, I got
And
goosebumps.
that's actually when we met Johnny Miller, because we went over and we knocked on, well, knocked, we went over to the palace to ask who had control of that space. And it was Johnny Miller was bartending. And he put us in contact with their administration, who we were really lucky because the guy that was in charge at the time, Bill Childers, had some connection with the Tampa area. So he understood what we were trying to do as far as Cuban cuisine and things like that, our coffee and our food. So he was much more receptive to it than maybe somebody else would have been. So yeah, we got lucky with that. And that's when we started to get the ball rolling to open, and we found our spot.
What did you think about the size at first? Was it smaller than you thought you wanted, or was
I
it like,
didn't
okay,
have
this is
any
a good way?
thoughts.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never worked in a restaurant before. As a matter of fact, my business plan was very methodical to the point that when I was doing my food pricing, my food costs, it was down to the mustard that we were using in the Cuban sandwiches because my brain wasn't going to work any other way. And I
Yeah.
remember saying to Chris, I need to know how many sandwiches we need to sell to keep the lights on. That's it. That's all I want to know. We went to one of the banks around here. We went to several banks because we got turned down a couple of times. And we went and spoke to, I remember the guy who opened the business plan said, I would like to know who the serial killer is who put this together because
Oh my gosh.
I've never seen anything like this before. As a matter of fact, he asked if he could use it as a sample for future businesses. I said, have at it. But it was really the only way I was, and honestly, yes, it was very small, but it was almost comforting of how small the old Ola was because it wasn't going to be overbearing or I had no idea what I was doing.
For
Never
sure. That
worked
makes sense.
in the kitchen or anything like that. I just knew that he wanted to do that. And I'm always down for a good time. Like I have so many different chapters of things that I've done that I try to sit down sometimes and think about it. And I can't believe it.
Like what?
I just like to try things out, just to see if I can. And
Yeah.
which is a problem, right? Because then after you see you can, you want to move on. And this has been the longest I've really stuck with anything. But I think that's why I enjoy the tours too, because they challenge me constantly of different experiences that we're putting together.
Yeah. So let's just be clear. So you have Hola Cuban
Hola
Cafe.
Cuban Cafe. And then about a couple of years after that, we started with the tasting tours. And it was a lot to do because we were off the beaten path and we weren't getting a whole lot of foot traffic. There's not great lighting off of Center Street. So after a certain point of the day, not a whole lot of folks come down the side streets because some of them may not look super inviting. And why would you get off the main drag? And that was during a time where Second Street was kind of coming up a little bit with spaces being filled. You had Coley's that had just come in. Joe's was doing real well. Villa Villa Cula was opening up. And it just kind of seemed like we were finding a groove. And we had, as business owners, all gotten together. We had a group, an unofficial group, which didn't go over super well with other people, but we called ourselves the Second Street Mafia. We were kidding. We know we're not the mafia, but
I
but
know,
it was
right?
kind of like a tongue in cheek because we were so powerless, right? So it was kind of making fun of that. And we would meet up actually once in a while and have drinks over at the Crab Trap on the second floor, what we call the Sunset Bar. I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what we call it. And it was to hash out certain things, right? Sometimes as business owners, we'd be like, why are you taking my trash cans? Why are you parking there? And because if we're not getting along, we're not going to get anything done. So
Yeah.
we would meet up and just talk about issues that might be coming up with the city and things like that. And inevitably, we'd get to the subject of foot traffic. And I remember saying, I just wish I could take him by the hand and show him where to go. And I want to say it was Chef Ricky who said, so do it. I
Yeah.
said, do what? And he's like, take him by the hand and show him where to go. And I said, all right, where am I going? And that's when Fernando from Pablo's was like, take him to my spot. And so was Joe. Ricky's like, bring him here. And Pajama Dave, all of them were so supportive. And we started doing it during a time when there wasn't a whole lot going on, right? Around January, February, when things die down and the locals kind of start coming out again because
Coming
that's
out of
their
the
voids
caves.
downtown because of the fact that it does get a little touristy and hot. So we were gearing towards the locals in order to show them what they had missed during the summertime. And it
Yeah.
went over really well. These folks, for some ungodly reason, were following me around and allowing me to do that for them. But then season picks up. So we get back to kind of like spring break. And I said to the guys, hey, season's picking up. I got to go back to work at Ola. I'm back behind the register because it's picking up again. And they said, you can't. We're getting repeat business. We're making connections with your guests and it's really working out. I need somebody to work. They started sending over folks. Like some of them sent over some of the kids from their kitchen and were like, Miss Marisol, Chef Ricky says I work here today. Like
No way.
it was really
I love
cute.
that.
It's really a
Yeah.
special island, right? Because even when we go over to Jacksonville to pick up supplies, a lot of us go to Restaurant Depot. We'll use each other. We'll call each other. Hey, are you headed to Jax today? Can you pick up? And I couldn't imagine something like that from where I stem from. And it's, I don't think we're arrogant enough to think that anybody comes for any one restaurant. We know that we are a destination and that we all have to keep it up or, doesn't bode well for the entire island if we start slacking off.
Yeah.
So we have a responsibility and we take it seriously. But yeah,
I think that's really cool. And I think you should have that mafia.
we still talk about it. We still keep in
He,
touch. A lot of us have graduated from Second Street.
true. True. I like your new location for the larger patio and, of course, the more historic looking building and, a view of patio restaurant, the trees. But I did still like where you were also before. It was quaint and cute. But I guess if I was to choose, I would choose where you are now.
I think I would too, especially personally, right? Because we used to hang out a lot, like at the Palace because we were right next to it. So my liver, for one, appreciates the new location.
I'm sure it does.
We're
And
really spoiled. The fact that we hang out at Florida's oldest bar, something that walked through those buildings, and I can't believe that we are walking through those buildings.
yeah,
Florida House, the Palace, the courthouse, the Lassane House. I mean, the Crab Trap. It's so beautiful.
it is.
And we're just we're spoiled. I really
Well, yeah,
enjoy
I
those
think that's one
buildings.
of the reasons I like to sit downtown and sometimes cheat on your coffee with the other coffee. But because I'll sit there and I just like to watch the tourists and their faces and hear them like, oh, there's a Mexican place right over there. I wonder if that's open right now, or, oh, did you happen to see the putt-putt over there? Or, and they're just like so curious and unknowing and smiling and happy and thinking things are so pretty and cute and interesting. And I just love that. I know that there's a lot of locals that can't stand it and try to avoid it, but I love it. And especially when they come in on their little ships, the little mini cruises, there's so many of them and they're all just starstruck, looking all around. I'm like, wow. I
What's
know
your
what that
favorite
feels.
weekend?
Oh, I'm not as active with some of the things as I kind of wish I would be. Like, I love the chili cook-off, and I
Oh, yeah.
forget about it a lot of times. I'm like, damn it, I missed it, And there's things like that. I'm for the shrimp festival. I like all the vendors. I don't really go down for the entertainment and such. I like to see and I go to every single booth. I go by myself, so I don't feel rushed or anything.
Right.
I want to see every single one, and I'm really amazed. And this is probably just as I get older, but like I'll walk past a booth where it's pottery, and I'll just think to myself, like, every one of those pieces took a lot of time,
Well,
and
yeah.
people are walking by. I think it would hurt my feelings if I'd spent so much time on something and then people just walked by and didn't stop to buy it. They get used to it, I guess.
Well, it's funny because you said I go by myself, but you really don't, right? Because you can float from group to group. You just keep running into people. And so it's
Yeah.
almost like you went with all those people to Shrimp Fest because you'll spend, a couple of booths with this group and then you kind of wander off by yourself again. And then you find another group that you recognize and you start walking down that aisle of vendors with them. And then by the time I get home, I get asked, who'd you see? I was like, who didn't I see? And I felt like I hung out with everybody, even though I went by myself, which
Yeah,
is that's another thing that you can go out by yourself around here and you're gonna run into people. There's just no way around it. You
that's
could easily
true.
walk into any place by yourself and know at least a handful of folks.
Yes. And it's like you went out with them. I mean,
For sure.
yeah, yeah. It is such a great town. This last shrimp festival, I bought a really big photograph, like 6 feet long. And it was very light, fortunately, but I had to walk from, I don't know, it must have been 5 blocks and it was hot and the thing was huge. And I went past, Chris was closing up Ola. And I remember thinking, should I
Did I
ask
just
him if
leave
I
it?
can store it here for a day? And I
You know
didn't.
he
I
would have
did
said
not.
yes.
I know he probably would have, but I was like, Dawn, you can do this. I get all the way in my car. It's a convertible and it won't fit in.
No.
Yeah, it would not fit in. I had to call my son who is in Yulee and beg him, please come save your mother. I can't. I bought
She
this
did it
art piece
again.
and I can't fit it in my car.
I wish I could say I've never done that, but
Yeah. The taste. So what is your favorite weekend?
so I'm a little partial to the muscle car weekend, the car
Yeah.
show, the American cars. I really do enjoy it. And it's not just because of the cars. And by the way, I've realized that the cars I've driven in high school are now considered antiques,
Yeah,
which
that's not
totally
good.
blows my mind. But these guys that come with those cars are just so genuinely enamored with their cars, proud of each other. And so there's so much shop talk. It's palpable, the energy that these guys have for their vehicles, which I think are pieces of art. And I love it when they roll in the middle of the night. Sometimes we'll actually go out there in the middle of the night to see them roll in. And then when they
Oh,
decide to leave, when the show's over, the sound of those motors, when they all just start revving up, and you can kind of feel it in your chest because they're
yeah.
so loud. If you stand still long enough, you can pretty much watch a parade of muscle cars as they're leaving, and that's always a treat. But the other one that I really like is when they have the petanque tournament for that
Hmm.
weekend, that they come from all over the world. And for just a brief second on the island, you hear all these languages. And I get such a kick out of that because I'm nosy as they come. So I'm like walking behind them to see if I can decipher what language they're speaking. And it's just
Yeah.
nice. It's nice to hear so many different nationalities just coming in to play
Uh,
this game that I've never heard of before.
yeah.
Don't
I
call
like
it bocce. Don't call it marbles. They get pissed, but
no. Yeah, I know what you mean because I have gone to Ola at the time around the Batong tournament and I
they take
see the
over.
foreigners. Yeah. And they know what they're doing though. Like I can tell they know what they're ordering. They're
Yep,
enjoying it. They got their little pinky out, sipping on it even, like
they do.
they,
And what's funny is that they don't even take sugar in theirs. The Cubans do. They do not, but they do enjoy our coffee. And now that we have beer and wine, they do enjoy our beer and wine. Like so.
yeah.
They really do a little bit of an Ola takeover when it's Potomac weekend, and I'm not mad at it. I get to practice my Duolingo, my French, that,
Mm-hmm.
well, there's nowhere to practice that really around here. So, yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah. And they get a kick out of the fact that you're trying. So,
Yes. Yes. So you said tasting tours, but you have 2 tasting tours right now, right?
we have a lot of tasting tours. The most
Oh,
popular ones that we do on the weekends is the cocktail tour, which is, it's a 2-hour tour. We're walking around showing you where to go, where to shop, teach you some history along the way. And we go to 4 different locations. And then that's every weekend. That's typically like around happy hour time, so folks can use it as a happy hour or pre-dinner drinks. And then
okay.
I don't want to say stumble, but they go on over for dinner afterward. And then we have the Booze and Bites, which is similar, but instead of 4 different locations for drinks, we do 2 with bars and 2 with drinks. So it gives you a little bit of a lay of the land. A lot of folks use that for when they first get to the island, so they can learn, what downtown's about, where is everything,
Yeah.
what intrigues them, right? To go back and check out for themselves. A lot of the bartenders told me that they make connections with a lot of these guests, and they'll come back with a lot of confidence and sit at the bar and just
Yeah. I
start
could see
shooting
that.
it with
I
them.
would totally do that. So I
But then
was
we have other
thinking,
ones that we do, right? Like they're dine-arounds, but they'll do like an appetizer at one location, an entree at the second location, dessert at the third location, something like that, just to get you moving a little bit and try different places. A lot of times what happens is that you're limited in the amount of nights that you have for dinners, right? You're only here for a weekend. You might
right.
only have 2 places for dinner. That means technically maybe only 2 places that you're going to check out. But if you come on a tour, you could check out more than that.
I love that.
I love to
Yeah.
eat. Dawn, I love to eat. I really love to eat.
So is it the same restaurants each time? Like that's
Not
part of the
necessarily.
program?
Yeah, it depends on the day of the week, the amount of people, the dietary restrictions, and things like that. But their groups usually during the week might be 4, 6, 10 people. And then we have the private groups that are anywhere between 30 and 40 at a time, which is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because they use it also as team building exercises and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah. What I get a kick out of is those groups that come in that you could tell that they've only met each other through Zoom. And it's almost like a family reunion when they come in.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, which one are you? I think I know your face and your name." Yeah,
Yeah.
at the Shotgun Club, we get the excursions also, and I know that look on their face. They don't really know each other, but they know their names or they know of them. Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting thing. And then, but by the end of it, they're all buddies, right?
We had a couple who got engaged. They met on our tours, and they came a few years after, and he proposed to her on the tour.
That's
Um,
cool.
we've had folks who I see them on Instagram later, and I'll do searches right through Amelia Island using the hashtag just to see what's happening around town, and I'll see folks who I know met on the tour, like couples. So it'll be like groups of 4 or 6 who the next day they're having dinner somewhere together, or there's pictures of them at the Turtle, which is kind of cool
Oh,
because they traveled by themselves, but they made friends.
yeah,
And they ended
that's a
up
great
hanging
way
out
to
with
make.
those folks.
Very neat. I love it. So you're doing well with that, like the word's gotten out. You've got
Yeah.
good ways
I
of.
have a really good lady who's been helping me with social media. I'm not good at it. And there's days that you wake up in the morning and all of a sudden they did an update to Instagram or something and I lose it because I just thought I was getting a handle on things and then they move stuff around. But yeah, consistency is key. You know that. And
Yeah.
that's one of the hardest things to be consistent because it's consistent and creative. And those two
Yes.
often, sometimes one is on and the other one's not. And I find
Yeah.
it a challenge too when you do, and that's when I tip my hat off to these social media folks because when you have, Ola has a different voice than the tours do. So when I'm posting and in my head, this is what's happening, and then I have to shift gears to post for Ola, I'm not sure that I have that voice anymore. The tone, I'm having a hard time coming up with it. So you'll see it sometimes. You'll notice that the tours will post a bunch and there's radio silence for Ola because my brain's just not working. And then it kind
That
of
makes
flips.
sense. Yeah.
Does it? Thank you. Thank you for validating.
No, that makes sense. I mean, because I'm the same way, right? Like I might be doing a post for Amelia Shotgun Sports, which is absolutely different from like my Mind Mastered app, right?
It
I got
totally has
Zen.
it.
I got yin yang. I'm totally
Right.
living yin yang. Yeah.
and it's tough. And I make excuses to my social media lady, and she takes me to task.
That's great. You have someone to help you with it. So when you were young, what did you think you were going to do when you grew up?
Well, I was going to do everything. I wanted to, at one point, I wanted to act. And my grandmother's sister really just crapped all over that, which I guess was fine. I went to a school of the arts growing up. I went to a school called Conchita Pinoza. They taught a lot in Spanish. A lot of the people in the office didn't speak English. Spanish is pretty much our first language. And they wanted to have us they really wanted us to appreciate our heritage, because the thought was that we would be going back to Cuba, because this was supposed to be a temporary situation.
Oh, okay.
Castro had other thoughts. And so here we are. And we're blessed. And there was that hard conversation at one point with my family where it was, listen, regardless of what happens, we're here now. This is, we've grown up here, and this is what we call home. So, it was a very different mindset, but a difficult conversation to have in order to just accept that this is it. And let's head first. Let's dive in and let's make a life here, which we obviously did. But yeah, then I went on to, it was an all-girl high school, and I loved it there too. Very enriching, right? Because there's something to be said when you've always seen as women as leaders. So it's never a shock. It's never like, oh, look, we always were. There was nobody else. We were the class presidents. We were the president of all the clubs and stuff like that. When I got to college, which was the University of Miami, I remember one of the professors said, "You went to Lourdes." I said, "How did you know that?" He goes, "You girls walk in here like you own the place." And I was like,
I
well,
love that.
right? I'm like, sorry? Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to tell you. But they really, I consider myself really blessed to have experienced that. But no, at no point did I think I'd be doing this. I still talk about that. I said,
What
can
do
you
you
believe this
feel
is what we
like
do?
are your strengths as a person? What comes naturally to you that you feel you're implementing right now in your businesses?
I think making those personal connections are key. And I finally embraced the fact that we are part of the brand, as are you, right? Like, people connect with you and they want more of Dawn. They can't have enough.
Or less.
And
Sometimes they want less of Dawn.
but yeah, I've embraced that folks, because it's around here some folks don't even know my name. They just call me Hola. And at first that was like kind of sad, but
Maybe they think
whatever.
that's your name.
I think they might. Well, they say hola, hola, hola,
Oh,
hola. And I'm like, oh, great.
they think it's your name.
They think it's my name. That's okay.
You have a Cuban restaurant named after you.
Right? But I have
Yeah.
arrived.
What would you say are some challenges that you have faced along the way, or that you're currently facing that you're either have overcome or will be overcoming?
Balance is definitely a challenge, because there's such guilt if I take a day off. And is there really a day off? Because your phone's still blowing up,
I
right?
know, it's so true. Yes.
And so there are times that I say, that's it. I'm leaving the phone. The phone stays here, but there's no downtime. And everybody expects you to be available all the time. And it's just you, really.
And you expect yourself to be,
I
right?
know,
Because that's
you
where we
too.
feel bad. Yeah, that it's a double-edged sword being self-employed. And I think that most of us that are doing it do feel the pros outweigh the cons, right?
Right.
Or else we wouldn't be doing it. But yeah, I'm working on balance, even though it's one of the things I teach. Like, the Shotgun Club is open. I'll just say, let's close Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right.
My mental training is normal Monday through Friday, so it's closed Saturday, Sunday. So I don't genuinely have a weekend. So I'm trying to force myself to, it's easier for me to take Tuesday, Wednesday off, because the Shotgun Club, when it's open, like, anything could happen. They could need me for anything, right? If I'm not there, they can need me for anything. Whereas I have a really great assistant and some employees related to the mental training, and a lot of that's online, and virtual, and I schedule appointments around my calendar. So I'm working on Tuesday, Wednesday being my weekend. But there's always to-do lists. There's always tasks. They're very long. And so walking away from that, and this is the first week I'm trying to do it again. and I'm talking about many, many months, because I miss that feeling of a weekend, that feeling of waking up on a Saturday that I used to have when I was in school, because
Right.
that's how long ago it was that I had a weekend,
And spring break, what's that?
Yeah. Wasn't it such a great, like, I hear people that work normal Monday through Friday and they're like, oh, the weekend's here, or have a great weekend. And I'm always like, it's the weekend. Like,
I
I
get
don't even
text
know it.
messages that say Happy Friday all the time. Happy Friday. I'm like, what?
It
It
feels,
doesn't matter.
no, that's Tuesday for you, right?
But even then, we still have stuff to do. Like today we're closed, but Chris is doing inventory and I just finished doing a couple of contracts for the tours. Where I think that I need to shift my mind is that I won't have that full weekend, right? The 48 hours or whatever of 2 consecutive days off. But I do have the ability to take more, like I've vacationed more than we typically would have when I worked a government job. I mean, I'm working from those locations, but I have to embrace that, right? That it's just a different kind of lifestyle. You're always technically on, but you have more flexibility. I mean, how
No, I
many?
agree. Like, Joe and I might go out fishing in the boat, let's say,
Right,
Thursday, 1 o'clock, but I have my phone with me, and whoever's calling me doesn't know if I'm at home or
right,
not at home. And so
absolutely.
there's a lot of flexibility around doing things like that. And a lot of times Joe will be like, I just want to put my phone away and never look at it again, or we're on the boat, let's not look at our phones. I'm like, I don't have that much flexibility, but I have the flexibility to have a fishing pole in my hand
Right.
and still answer a text or an email.
And that's big. That's really big.
You
But
and Chris,
sometimes I get frustrated.
yeah,
I just have to
because
remind myself.
you're always on the clock.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like we'll go camping and then we'll go for a hike and I'm all relaxed and I get back to the campsite and I'm checking the phone.
Yeah. It's a little addictive.
Chris likes to go places where there's no reception.
I could see why.
So then we have to drive in the morning to where there is reception, check our emails, catch up. But at least we know that for the rest of the day, once we drive away, that's it.
Well, that
So it's a
sounds
little
pretty
bit more
great.
controlled. Yeah. We don't do it often, but yeah.
I'm considering, because I do have, an employee and assistant, I'm considering forwarding my phone on those days just to try to, and even my emails, right? Like when a person's on vacation at a real
Yeah.
job, they forward their emails, or it says, you know, out until whatever
Right.
day. We should take that extra step, Marisol.
You know who answers my phones for the tour? Shouldn't be laughing. She's doing me a favor. My mother.
Wow.
She retired and she was during a time that my nieces and nephews needed a little more care. But now, I mean, these kids are graduating from college and some of them are just starting there on their own pretty much. And my dad was kind of like, oh God, I hope she doesn't hear. My dad was kind of like, she seems a little bored. I said, all right, I got something for her. So she does. She checks my voicemails and then she transcribes them and emails them to me. And she answers the phone once in a while. So that does take off a lot.
That is a lot. And is she down in Miami?
She's down in Miami. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a lot because especially with all the spam that comes in. And I'm answering phones about healthcare and extended car warranties. And
Yeah, and you don't have time for that when you're already trying to squeeze it in.
it's crazy to me. But
Yeah. So, how's your mental skills through all this, your mindset and your ability to handle?
it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
There's days that I strut, right? Like I'm like, you got it going on. You know exactly what's happening. Way to go, girl. And then there's days that it is an immense, heavy feeling of imposter syndrome.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, because I'm picking this up as I go along, a lot of it, right? I've never worked at a restaurant before. You learn your lessons. Some are more expensive than others. I try to do like online, YouTube videos and stuff like that to try to teach myself things. And then, I mean, the tours for sure gives me imposter syndrome because I am actually making that up as I go along. And yeah, like who am I?
I've found that the days where, I'm juggling 10 balls and they're all in the air, but it's happening beautifully, like that's when
Right,
it feels good and I can like go and sit in Ola
right,
patio for 2 hours, 3 hours past your closing, whatever. And still do my emails from there and answer phone calls. But if one or two of those balls fall out of sync, oh my goodness. Yeah, and it's like, okay, I just need everything to stop so I can focus on these things. And sometimes that is an issue that's going to take several days to resolve or longer.
When I hear sometimes when we go to networking groups and folks introduce each other, right? They're like, and then this is Marisol, and they give a little snippet about myself. I'm always a little shocked, right? Because they're like, I don't know, what was it that it always reminds me of Pretty Woman when she says the bad things are easier to believe. So sometimes you're so hard on yourself, so critical, you harp on the one thing you screwed up.
Yes.
And the girl who does my social media, my videos, she's been coming out on tours with me. And at the end of the tour, Chris will walk by and be like, how'd it go? And I'm just like, well, that was a mess. One lady didn't tell me she was allergic to shrimp and da da da. And I see Meredith behind going like, just shaking her head. It was great. It was great. Like she's just harping on, a hiccup that she handled beautifully.
Right.
But I'm just like,
hard on yourself.
The sky's falling. I'm big time. The sky's falling.
Chris must be used to it.
Oh, thank God he can't hear very well. Because
it's a saving grace.
Oh my gosh. Because I'll be like, what happened? Like he walks in, what happened? He's like, nothing happened. I'm just waiting for that shoe to drop. Yeah. I will tell you this, what helps a lot is just physical exercise for me.
Okay. So do you actually go to the gym? You work out?
Is that what you mean? And some weights upstairs. Mm-hmm. And like Saturday I had a tour and I felt a lot of pressure because it was for people that I really respect and I wanted to do well by them, but I had anxiety. So I told one of them, I said, listen, I'm going to hang up. I'll see you guys there. I'm just going to go jump on the treadmill. And I ran. I haven't run in a while. I typically do a brisk walk with some hand weights. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Before you knew it, I'm running. And I ran for 30 minutes straight, which for me is a lot. And then I couldn't walk on the tour. I kid you not. I kid you not. I kid you not. It hurt. Everything was cracking. Yeah. Thank God I brought another tour guide with me because I was cutting behind buildings and stuff so that I wouldn't have to walk as much. I felt like a bag of bones. It was bad. It was so bad. Oh my
goodness. But usually exercise is a good stress relief for you.
Yeah. And it's so nice around here, right? Because we're just off Reefer Road. So we'll just, even in the evening, because it's hot around here. So we'll go late at night after dinner and just walk around. There's always pretty houses to look at. Maybe some nature, some deer walking by.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it clears
great.
Your head.
Nature is always a great way to feel better. I mean, there's even a lot of good scientific proof around it. I think you and Chris probably already knew that because you moved to Fernandina to be around more nature and you love camping.
We do.
I admire your camping trips because my childhood, like elementary, we lived in Washington State. And so camping was a big thing because it's very different than here. And I talked to Chris about this before because I saw you guys, I kept seeing the posts on social media for camping. I was like, where are they going? Because I think it's way too hot and way too buggy around here. So Agreed. He cleared it up. He was like, we only go certain times and when the temperature is a certain way and we go to certain places, like not camping like right here, literally. And
the colder, the better. Yeah. There comes a point when it's hot, you can't take off any more clothes. Someone's calling the cops. Whereas when it's cold, I will just bundle up and that's it. And there's less people around.
I remember it's been 10 plus years ago, went camping. Myself and my son and daughter, we had a tent and they were younger. They were like middle school maybe or late elementary. And my sister and her family, they had a little RV. So, we're around the campfire. We're doing our thing. They go in the RV. We go in the tent. And oh my God, I had that fan literally 1 inch from all of us. We were as little clothes as possible. We could not sleep and we packed up. We did the packing up at midnight and leaving because there was just no sleep happening. It was absolutely miserable.
I believe it.
But I do love it in the right environment. And that whole feeling of getting up in the morning and hearing the nature,
Right.
cooking out on the, the fire. It's just, there's something about it I love.
I also love to organize it.
Really?
Oh my gosh. I love a spreadsheet. I love a
Yeah.
spreadsheet. Oh my goodness. And so we will go, a group of us, and we'll assign, right? Like you do dinner tonight, and then that the rest of the trip, you don't have to worry about dinner. And so it's just organizing all the folks and who's going what days and all that. They laugh at me. They say they have more fun putting the trip together than when I get there. Once I get there, I just chill out and I don't do anything because I did everything before.
Yeah. Which reminds me of the list you said, and you had it down to the exact amount of mustard, right? So that's that part of your brain,
It really is.
organizing, analyzing, assessing, figuring things out, making lists.
I love a list.
Oh my God. Do you like any of the modern technology where you can't see the list, or do you have to see it so you can scratch it out?
I have a lot of notebooks, a
Yeah.
lot of notebooks. And then even I'm one of those that even if you already did it, I'm still going to write it on the list and scratch it out just so
It's
that I
such a
feel
great
like I did
feeling.
more. It is a great feeling.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, there's a lot more items that have been crossed off.
And if I'm having a
Like,
really bad day, like that I feel like nothing's getting accomplished, I will write the most asinine thing on the list, brush my teeth, and then cross it out. And I'm like,
no
nailed
way.
it.
I've never thought of that. Oh, I'm doing that.
Okay, because at night, what I do is before I go to bed, I list 3 things that I accomplished. So that I try to do it 3 things for Ola, 3 things for the tours, and 3 personal things.
Good for you.
3 personal things that make me feel like I then took advantage of my day. Because sometimes you run around so much and you're like, I feel like I have nothing to show for the day. When in
Okay.
reality, you just didn't notice the amount of things you did, right? Like something as simple as just posting. You got to give yourself credit for it
For
because
sure.
otherwise you just feel like you're spinning your wheels and I mean, it'll break you down.
I love that you figured that out. Did you figure that out yourself, or do you remember reading it or somebody teaching you to do
No,
that?
I felt like I didn't have control. And so I think it was Chris actually, because I mentioned to him I had nothing to show for today after everything I did. And he'll be like, yeah, you did. And he started
Yeah.
recounting back the stuff that I did and didn't realize it. He's like, you cleaned out the refrigerator today, like something silly like that. And I was like, I did clean out the refrigerator today.
That's awesome. I'm going to have to remember to do that. I
It
like
makes
that
you feel
because
a little more appreciative, right? And lets you sleep a little better.
I use an app called To Do. It's by Microsoft, and I can do to-do lists, and there's like a little, I click on the little circle and it dings, but
Oh,
if
that's
if
funny.
I have like a good day where I don't have any appointments, I will write it all on paper because I want to see it, and then if I have like Joe or somebody home also, then he can see it too, and maybe he can tackle a few things on that list that's on the counter. But this AI technology, I use an app called Reclaim, and I can put my tasks into it, and I can give it like time, like it takes an hour for this or 15 minutes, and then maybe a date that I need it done by, and that's it. And
Right.
it will organize my calendar for the day. So I love it because I'm like all analytical and everything. And if I don't mark the item done, then it rethinks my whole next day because I've prioritized
Oh,
things. Yeah, so that's the AI part of it. I've prioritized things by dates, or you can even move them to
right.
prioritize them in order. So that system knows what my priorities are. And if I did one of them or two or three, then I can click them done. If I didn't click it done, it rethinks my whole next day. Like, and it knows my
Right.
appointments and everything. So it works around all of my appointments. I love it.
Yeah, AI.
It helped me to, well, not have to keep rewriting the list or forgetting things. And because I can go right in my phone. All right, so I have to edit Marisol's podcast interview. So I'll put that in there. I'll say it's going to take me 2 hours to give it a date, and it will find the spot for it on my calendar.
That's brilliant.
I love it.
And it kind of holds you accountable.
Yeah. Except I can't ignore it. I can't. But it's all right because it's like, well, guess she didn't do none of those today. Put some on tomorrow.
You know what I actually have taken up that has helped me with some mental relief is I took up improv.
Oh, I saw that on your social media. Tell
I'm
us about that.
I'm finishing level 2 now. I got about 2 weeks left. Yeah, not gonna lie, I may have signed up for it a little inebriated the first time, right? Like I was like on Facebook, I'm
Maybe.
like, this looks amazing. And the next day I look at my email, I was like, what did I sign up for? But it's this girl, she moved to the area a bit ago, and she is a graduate of the conservatory from Second City and out of Chicago, which to me was like a big deal because I love all that, Saturday Night Live and stuff like that. And so I met her at it was a networking event where it was like a kind of a happy hour. She did a couple of exercises, improv exercises, and I kind of
Really?
thought it was really cool. So when she, opened up these classes, I signed up. And Don, I gotta tell you, it's 2 hours once a week, and I look forward to it. It's such an ability to leave everything at the door and just work your brain a little bit, right? Like give it a little fun exercises to 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 relax. It feels so good. Feels so good to get in there. So much so that I signed up this semester for both classes. I'm doing level 1 and level 2, which is a good time. And I've met people that I would have never hung out with before. And it's such a unique experience that you share with this handful of people.
So
And it's
learning how to do comedy, improv comedy, right?
yes, and
Stand-up comedy.
that's
Yeah.
what it is. Yes, and basically you're just building something with somebody else and in a positive way. And I got to tell you, it's affected the tours, right? Because I'm so different than the other tour guides. I see things much more analytical. They're like Doug. Doug is so much fun, right? And he's the party tour guide. I am very meticulous. We need to pass by this building so I can give you the history. And are the drinks out on time? And sometimes I'm not yes anding as I should. Instead of leaning into something and embracing it for what it is and just no, I kind of sometimes shut down a little bit because I get upset that things aren't going the way they should or perfectly after you plan so much. You plan so much and
Yeah.
to have things, kind of fall apart or get that hiccup, improv has taught me how to embrace it more. It's more of a yes, and this is how we're going to make it work. We're going to make this scene work. And so it's really been a positive thing for me.
I
So,
could see that because you've shared a few things like with the tasting tours, how at the end of it, somebody didn't tell you that they were allergic to shrimp, right? And that would really upset you because you would have planned differently and you put a
right.
lot of time into that planning. And yeah, I could totally see how improv could carry over and help you improvise. Improv means improvise, right? So is that local, like Fernandina?
Yeah. So we have two shows actually coming up, and one's going to be out of Marlin and Barrel, and the other one's going to be out of Disco Witch. It's called Over the Bridge. And it's interesting because you have folks who are a little more artsy in it, but then you also have them coupled with business owners. You have the owner of Marlin and Barrel, Rogers, doing it. And it's so interesting to see him come in because he's got an analytical, like his is very much a place for everything and everything in its place. And to see him kind of unwind a little bit and embrace the yes and the silliness of it. Because there is some silliness, and sometimes you got to remind yourself that you're a grown ass woman. And I've said that the other day. I'm a grown ass woman playing make believe, and some of it is hard. I got home the other day crying.
No.
I found it such a challenge, and I want to do well by it, and I want to do well by my cohorts, and I just felt like I had an off day, and then so poor Chris is like, "Are you okay?" I said, "If I told you I'm crying about improv, what would your reaction be?" like.
I
Which was
already know he would tell you the good that you did.
Well, he said, bless him. He said and that hit me hard. He said, I was just so proud of you after your first show because just the balls to get up there. And I couldn't believe I would never get up there. And you just were like, screw it, let's do it. I mean, it's a small town. Who cares? I'm doing it all in front of my friends anyway.
Oh my gosh, I got to go to the next one. That
I
sounds
don't care if
cool.
people laugh at me. I don't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of self deprivation. Is that what it's called? Remember, English is my second language. Is that how you call it? Self deprivation?
martyrdom, maybe? I don't
I
know.
make fun of myself a lot. I have a lot of funny stories. I get into trouble a lot. Yeah. And so oftentimes people will be like, that was super funny of an improv. I was like, that's a true story. Yeah. I don't have a problem sharing true stories, and I don't care.
That's great. When is the next one that we can come watch?
There is September 19th, a Thursday, is going to be the level 1 show. And that's the one that's going to be out of Marlin and Barrel. And then, so those are your level 1ers. Basically, a little more simplistic. They're just getting started. 2 people scenes and things like that. Then we have our level 2 will be the following Thursday, September 26th at Disco Witch. And that one gets a little more complicated and that's when I cried. Because that's more like 3 people scenes and, people coming in and out of scenes and out, in and out of scenes. And it gets a little messy sometimes.
I bet. I'm fascinated with it. I'm really curious, not to do it, just to watch it.
You never know, because our level 1 class is more than half are people who went to the show and just were like, I want to do that. And they signed up.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I'll see you there.
It's addicting. The tickets are free, so come on down.
Yeah, well, free's great.
Free is great. Free is great. You can't tell me I suck because it was free.
Yeah, right. You haven't bought that right.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. What do you think keeps you going, motivates you, keeps you coming back for more?
I want to say pride. Yeah, I think it's pride in my. I asked Chris, I said, are you proud of me? Like every once in a while, I'm like, are you proud of me? He's like, of course I'm proud of you. And I want to do right by my family. I want to do right by my friends, by this town. And that I think really keeps me motivated. Just wanting to make my nieces proud. My nieces think I am the coolest thing, and my nephew, they really do. And I really get, so excited to see that the simplest things that I do, they just are fascinated by it. Because
Oh,
the entrepreneurial spirit comes from my dad, that he always had his own business. And I feel like I'm a real daddy's girl. So I try to do right by him. And they thought I was crazy when I moved here. No, not a lot of folks move away and things like that. When we were moving, I worked till the last possible second because I wanted to cash out as much vacation time as I could so that we could use it to live off of a little while we got the shop going. So everything was kind of thrown in the back of the truck. There was really no packing. It was just thrown. And when Chris pulled away in that U-Haul and I was in the car behind us, John, there was like a brief second where I was like, do you think he'll notice if I'm not behind him? Like, how far will he get before he realizes that I did not come with him? Because that was a huge step. Like, it was a brand new start.
yeah, definitely big. And so all your family's still in Miami, right? Like you mentioned, niece and nephews.
They've, gone off to college and stuff like that, but everybody lives in Miami, for the most part. And I wouldn't doubt if that just continues generationally. It's a big community. And they're really like, and a big part of it. My sister is head attorney for one of the local banks, and my brother-in-law has a really good job down there with Movado as well. But it took a lot. Along those lines too, is that I grew up very much being my mother's daughter and my sister's sister. A lot of people call me by her name for a very long time. I was getting eye surgery, and the nurse called me by her name, to the point that I was in the middle of the surgery, and I'm thinking to myself, does she have my file? Is she looking at my sister's file?
Oh gosh.
I'm about to come out of here cross-eyed.
Oh God.
But it was really nice to be somewhere where I was me. There was
I could see that.
There was
or
no
Ola. They think you're Ola.
Well, as long as the check clears, they can call me whatever they want.
So being that it was such a big decision, how much do you feel like your intuition, your gut feelings was a big part of what helped you to do that?
That was all. That's all I had to go on, was a gut decision, because I had only come to visit a few times. So it really was, but the decision was, the biggest part of the decision was missing out on my nieces and nephews growing up, because I wasn't there as much. And but I mean, who knows, right? Maybe if I would have been in Miami, would I have been as close to them as I am now? Because you take for granted that you are physically close to them. Whereas at here, I was having to make those extra efforts to stay in their lives and to be an important part of their life. We're a small family. Both my parents are only children. So it's not like we have a lot of people spare parts. Um, but I remember my sister right before I left, and I was feeling a lot of guilt leaving. She said, "What's the worst that can happen? You come back here, you get a job again." She's like, "It's not a big deal."
True, true.
And I remember we get together once a year in around Siesta Key in Sarasota. And this past year, one of my girlfriends hadn't seen in a while, and she said, she goes, I think you're one of the bravest people I've met. And that hit home. I mean, we were a little drunk at the moment, but that still hit home.
I still liked it.
I still liked it. And so I don't think we give each other enough credit for the things we do and the chances we take. Because it's okay. And it's okay to fail. It's okay to have an idea that didn't quite pan out. But
Yeah, at least
as long
feel
as
you
you
gave
follow
it a
that
shot.
thread, right? As
Mm-hmm.
long as you follow that thread, I think you'll feel good about yourself. Besides, it always makes a good story, right?
It does, especially if you're going to improv it.
I'll improv the crap out of it.
Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Don't, and that scares me. Because right, no, I'm going to get dark. It's not dark at all. It's just that I typically don't have a long plan, right? Like, I don't know where it's going to take me. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. It could be Hola. I've been leaning a little more into the tours just because it doesn't have a brick and mortar. And so I feel like it's something I can trap. Like I don't rely on a landlord or anything like that. So I'm kind of pushing that one a little bit more, especially that the island's getting developed so much. You never know.
That
You
makes
never know
sense.
how long you can be doing it. So I don't really know, but I am, I really feel like I pumped the brakes a little bit on a lot of our development because part of me was feeling guilty about exploiting the island, right? And especially with the tours. Somebody told me the other day that I was ruining the island by doing these
No
tours.
way.
Yeah.
Who
And
would
that
say
is
something like that?
oh, please, Dawn.
I know.
People have no shame.
They
But
don't.
and I said to them, for starters, you're telling me this now, and the tours have been around for 10 years. That's number one. Number two, if I don't do it, somebody else will. And when is it my turn? That's was always a big thing for me. When is it my turn? And then recognizing that it's your turn and really using it to your advantage. Because that's another thing. You got to recognize when it's your shot and take it. And I hope that's what I'm doing. But yeah, that's why I told him I was kind of upset by it because it was something that you hear it all the time. The island's getting ruined. It's overdeveloped. There's too many tourists. And to think that I might be part of the problem would break my heart because I moved here with good intentions. And
Yeah, don't let that get in your head. It's
and I
amazing
see
how
everybody else doing it.
well, I mean, if you really broke it down, just the fact that you offer good coffee or good service or good food means people are going to come back. And who's going to come back? Are the locals or the tourists? I mean, the whole concept of that statement is flawed. And some people that have the really strong negative opinions don't really seem to necessarily have the intellect behind it.
Right.
And
Oh, that is
I
good.
have to, it's amazing to me because they're usually the stronger, louder ones, right? The ones that I really have to tune out. And it's taken me a long time to figure that out because I do care, right? I'm a
Right.
person who cares. Like you, I put everything into whatever I do. And when you do that, you want it to go well. And the last thing you want is somebody making a negative, pessimistic added or comment about it. And I think the most important thing is to just remember and know that that's their opinion coming from whatever experience they have had or not had in life. And one of those is definitely that they don't have any couth or insight or, you
And a
know,
lot of those folks that are the ones that are sitting on the sidelines, right? So it's real easy to criticize while you're sitting over there. I do it every Sunday when I watch football. Now, they're the ones doing it to those of us that are in the game. But I'm still sensitive, you know?
I know, human and it still hurts. But yeah, the more you put yourself in the public eye, the more that you'll hear things like that. And that's part of it. That's part
My sister
of
used to say, if they're not talking about you, you're not doing it right.
my ex-husband, my first ex-husband. When he would get upset with me, he used to say, nobody really likes you anyways. Because he knew that was one of he knew,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what, I want
Where
people to like
exactly?
me. Like, he knew that was one of my buttons, but that was 30 years ago. That's not one of my buttons anymore. I know there's several people that don't like me at this point.
Do you go on the networks, the local networks around here for Facebook? Because I
Yeah.
do. I got off them. I couldn't anymore. And they kept making more, right? The Yuli network, the Fernandina network, the
Yeah.
Yuli. And before you knew it, there's 6 different networks. And I remember as business owners, we couldn't keep up. So we actually started to divide them, right? And if I see something about you, I'll call you, and vice versa. And that's how we started to do it, because there's not enough hours in the day to be looking at these posts about people who probably never even left the house yet. They haven't been downtown in forever, but they've got a strong opinion about it.
Holy, I've watched it happen a few times. Was it maybe 2 years ago? They attacked Kabuki. Did you remember that when that happened?
Oh my God, I
Oh,
do remember that.
oh my gosh, I felt so bad because Kabuki's like been around for, God, I don't even know, 30, 40, 50 years or something like that. Those of us that have lived in the area a long time, I had my 21st birthday there.
Get out. Last week.
Yeah. But there's other ways. Yeah, it was last week. There's other ways to tell a business owner something. Like
Right.
if you have a beef, then talk, leave a comment inside, write a note, ask for the manager. I think any good business person is open to constructive criticism, but it's all
Right.
in the delivery. And also, you don't have to go public with it. You can talk it out or make your opinion. You also got to be able to walk away. If you don't, voice your opinion, do it respectfully. It doesn't mean the owner has to listen. That's a whole nother thing. That's still their business.
I saw a business around here get a bad review because they brought them some sort of decoration, which they didn't ask for and didn't put up. And so they went on Google and gave them a 1 star and said, I just gave you a decoration and you didn't even bother to put it up. Get out of town.
Oh my. Yeah. It's
Oh
rough.
my.
That's, yeah. And social media has really opened that up. There's, again, pros and cons to everything, but, social media has a great place in the world for positive things, but it also opened the door for lots of negative comments and the ability for fake news to
No
spread like
kidding.
wildfire. Yeah.
Okay, well,
And now they're like out of control with trying to censor because, of course, those bigger, higher up people don't like that all of this lower people can make comments either.
listen, as Cubans, we know what that's about, right? Like the censorship and everything. It's a very sensitive issue that, I mean,
Yeah.
they tell us that that we're very much the sky is falling, but I mean, tell us not to be traumatized about it. I dare you.
Yeah, right. When you going camping? Super.
We have at least 5 camping trips already lined up. We're going to be going to Black Rock Mountain in Northeast Georgia, but the one I'm really looking forward to, I mean, that's a great time, but I have a soft spot for Cumberland, and so we'll be doing Cumberland in, I want to say
Oh,
maybe in January. The colder the better. The colder the better. And what's cool about that too is
yeah.
that you got to get there by ferry, but there's 2 days of the week that there is no ferry running, so you have to be sure you have everything you need because nobody's coming for you and there's nobody there. But those are the 2 days that it's so quiet because you don't have people, any day trippers coming in or anything. So we try to
I
do it
could
so
see
that we
that.
fall those days. And Cumberland is just so gorgeous. So you got all the greenery, but you also have the beach. And I mean, the wild horses are an extra treat. I love it all. We're
That's
getting
so
too old
great.
to make those trips. So we got to take advantage of it now. It's carry in, carry out.
That's for sure. Yeah, my son did it once with a group of people, and I remember having to send him with everything. Thank you, Marisol. I want to tell all the listeners that they can get some free goodies, whether it's for my mental training, my Mind Mastered app, or Amelia Shotgun Sports. You can have free golf cart or push cart rental if you go to dongrant.com/free. And if people want to get a hold of Marisol, first of all the social media, so the tasting tours and Hola. And she's got great posts on there, but also websites for both of them, right? So give us your contact info.
We got the websites, we got Instagram, Facebook. The tours have Pinterest, YouTube, TikTok. So we have AmeliaIslandTastingTours.com. And of course, we have HolaCubanCafe.com. Hola with an H, Hola, like hola, hello.
Right. And of course, I have all the different social medias also with some good free tips and advice and everything. Anything else you want to add?
Keep doing your videos, Dawn. I watch them a lot and I really enjoy them.
Well, thank you. I've taken a social media marketing course that's teaching me formatting and everything, and so that's why you're seeing some of that. And there'll be new stuff coming out, but along the same lines.
It's brilliant. Kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you. Well, thanks again for being on. I look forward to seeing you at Hola. I look forward to seeing you on stage for Improv. And I'm now wanting to do one of the tasting tours.
Awesome.
And come shoot with us.
Oh my gosh.
We need to add that to your tour. Like,
That's
go
not a bad
ahead.
idea.
Wait, eat, not drink first. Eat first, then
Yes.
come shoot.
And then drink.
Exactly. All
It's
right.
a date. I will definitely be out there.
Beautiful. Thank you, and I will
Thank
see
you.
you soon.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mind Mastered Secrets of Excellence with Dawn Grant. Whether you're an elite athlete or pursuing success in your career or personal life, Dawn Grant's expertise and insights are here to guide you. Don't forget to visit dawngrant.com/free to grab your exclusive free resources, hypnosis audios, mental training tools, and even a golf cart at her club. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow, rate, and share this podcast. Stay connected with Dawn on all social media platforms for more inspiration, tips, and updates. Remember, mastering your mind is the key to unlocking your full potential. Until next time, keep pushing your limits and striving for excellence.